here to do one of these vertical live streams. It's been a few weeks since I've been on here. It's just been pretty busy on my end. So I thought I'd start this live by just doing kind of a currently reading, recent reads kind of situation. This is, again, kind of an interesting time slot, so anyone who's able to make it, awesome. Please hit that like button. Feel free to hit me with questions. I'll probably be on for 20 to 30 minutes. We'll see how I do with time and everything going on. But if you're getting me on the replay, thanks so much. You can feel free to ask questions there as well. But I'll just keep going and hopefully some people will trickle in here. But I thought I would just talk about some books I'm more actively reading. For longer term fans of the channel, you might know I read a lot of books simultaneously, so this is not even indicative of everything I'm trying to make my way through right now, but these are some of the more focused books I'm reading right now. I think we'll start with this first. We'll do some of the paperbacks. So this is the Starman Compendium, Volume 2 from DC Comics. Contains a lot of issues, as you can see. It is a standard size, huge paperback edition. The entirety, at least at this point, of James Robinson's Starman run is collected across these 2 volumes. I did review a volume 1 some time ago on the channel, and I thought it was time to jump into the volume 2 and round out the series. This is such a fun run from what I've read so far. I'm so eager to continue my way through the back half of this collection. Got some beautiful reproduced covers here. I love that each of the issues has like kind of the breakdown, so you know right where you're at, you know exactly what you're reading, which is so nice in a big collection like this. The art is just beautiful. Yeah, it's just so stylized. This is really a great series. I think this was a 90s run, if I'm not mistaken, but this is really great. If you don't know who Starman is, this is Jack Knight. He is one of the sons of the original Starman from kind of the golden age of comics over at DC. And this is a real love letter to that age of comics, the golden age era of superheroes. We do have some of your more traditional main Justice League members show up for cameos here and there, like I know Batman's in an issue or 2. But honestly, this feels a bit separate from some of the other DC fare. That's honestly kind of why I like it. We have a member of the Marvel family there. It's very, very stylized, kind of like, it feels like it's influenced by a lot of that kind of Art Deco feel as well. It's a really beautiful story. It takes time with the narrative as well. You know, it's paced extremely well. Like I said, unlike anything I've read thus far, I know this is a very big, celebrated run, so I was really eager for an opportunity to read the entirety of it in these compendiums. I wish DC released oversized omnibus editions, but you know, you never know what the future may hold. So this is Starman. I would love to hear in the comments if anyone's read this series. Like I said, I know it's very celebrated. I'm finally trying to make my way through it. Let's see, got a couple people trickling in. Hi, I see someone gave a like. Thank you so much. If you're enjoying it, please go ahead and give that like. And if you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to get to it. But let's go ahead and talk about some more things I'm recently reading. Let's see here, Among Us, okay. Okay, so let's see here. We got Cover. This is something I actually just finished 2 days ago at the time of this recording. This is a trade paperback collection I do plan to review on the channel in the next week or 2 if you're interested. This is a small little independent published book by Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack over at Dark Horse Comics. Honestly, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this book. I don't know how well known it is. I had an opportunity to pick up this paperback at a signing for David Mack. So there's David Mack's signature down there. I initially went to meet him and talk about his Daredevil run, get a signature on that book, which I did. But he was promoting this, and he said if we bought a copy, he'll go ahead and sign that as well, no charge, which was really great. David Mack was an absolute stellar comic book creator. Really, if you have an opportunity to meet him, highly recommend it. I say his most prolific illustration style is kind of this watercolor look. It's very indicative of David Mack's work, although he has a tremendous range, and we see some of that in this book here. Also a really incredible writer. But yeah, this is co-created by Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack, and this was really cool. We got some awesome covers. The interior art, this is kind of the most mainstream. Philip, hey, good to see you. This is kind of the most main storyline artwork we have here. This kind of interesting, kind of blue-hued artwork. I think this is really to underscore kind of the drab nature of sort of the mundane aspects of the story. But basically, it's about a comic book artist who gets pulled into kind of an espionage spy kind of world. And it's really cool because you get a tremendous range from the art of David Mack here, because you also have him going into kind of the world in which this fictional comic book creator is creating his own fictional comics. And that's where we get artwork like this. So already the style is beginning to change up. And we go back to this kind of narrative, but throughout the book, we have so many different styles. Let me see if I can flip ahead without spoiling too much. So this is, again, kind of in the world of the comic book creator in this world is creating. It's kind of this sort of samurai story. There's a lot of kind of frame narrative going on. There's a kind of surrealistic feel to this whole work. But I loved this. It kind of was a slow burn for me, but it really got me. And then, of course, we go to his more traditional watercolor style that he employs. And honestly, that's some of my favorite stuff in this collection is the watercolor. The actual covers for cover are also beautiful. We have some variant covers. Really cool. Oh, Kal-El says, love the different art styles David Mack uses in cover. Absolutely, absolutely. Here we go. Some more watercolors. Probably going to stop flipping through around after this because I don't want to spoil too much. But essentially, like I said, this is about a comic book creator that gets pulled into the world of kind of international espionage. And he has the perfect cover identity as a comic book creator. But he's able to get into all these kind of artistic galas and celebrations and able to kind of rub elbows with some really influential people. But yeah, it's just really fascinating. I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, it's unlike anything I've ever read. It does say it's a volume 1. However, I'm happy to say it ends on a very satisfying conclusion. So it kind of leaves the door open to the future if they do more. But if this is a one and done, also very satisfied. So this is a smaller collection. I know I do a lot of hardcovers and omnibuses on the channel, but rest assured, I do read a lot of trade paperback. I know there's people like myself that sometimes like to lean more budget friendly. And there's some amazing comics that are only released in trade paperback. And honestly, this is a good example of one. I thought this was really fun. Again, if you're really interested, I am planning to review this in the coming weeks, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let's go check in on those comments. I see a couple more. A few more people trickling in. Hey everyone, how's it going? Love the videos. Thank you. Really appreciate that. English to Spanish. I wish my Spanish was a little bit better, trust me. Check out Mack's early work called Kabuki. Yes, I know that is one of his claim to fames. I have yet to read Kabuki, but I've made my way through a couple other David Mack series. I think his Daredevil run is one of my particular favorites. Both the run he wrote with Joe Quesada on art, and when he did some art during like the Bendis era. Again, all really good stuff. Let's see what else we got. Hey Dom, saying hi before heading off to work. Hey man, good to see ya. Wish I could watch more. I see Starman there. Yeah, I'm finally getting to the back half of Starman with Compendium 2. So far, an amazing, amazing comic book run. High recommend. But thanks for stopping by, Blur Jose. Hopefully you can catch the rest on replay later. Have a good day at work. Let's see what we got. I'm going to go ahead and start making my way over to the omnibuses. As I mentioned, this isn't indicative of everything I'm reading, but these are kind of the more active reads on my shelf right now. If you want, feel free to comment what you're reading. I'd always love to know that as well. Like I said, I'm going to be on for another 10-15 minutes, so any more questions as people trickle in, feel free to go ahead and shout out, and I will try to address. But this is another one I'm trying to get through. This is the Death of Spider-Man, or the Ultimate Death of Spider-Man Omnibus from Marvel Comics. As you can see here, you have a thumbnail of all the issues included on the back here. This is an omnibus, funny enough, that I had an older printing of some time ago. There was a period of my life where I thought I was getting out of comics, so I sold pretty much all of my collection. Now that I'm back collecting comics, albeit a bit healthier on a budget, thank you Lord, I've been kind of trying to collect some of the things I left behind, and I'm so happy to see that this got a reprint. I have been kind of collecting as best I can the Ultimate Spider-Man omnibuses that they've been releasing. And we're getting close to the end of the run here. You know, they're going to release volume 4 in the next month or two, and then I think there should be a volume 5 that should double dip with some of these. This is considered an event omnibus during the period of, you guessed it, the death of Ultimate Spider-Man. What's funny about this is that I have still not read the entirety of this omnibus. I've read some of the key issues with Ultimate Spider-Man, But there's a couple like little like crossovers and sort of event mini-series in here that I still have yet to read. This is a really interesting time in the history of Ultimate Spider-Man. The actual death of issues I think are fantastic. Some of this other material though, I'm not really sure. I've heard this is my bookmark. I'm not super far into it, but I am getting into it. Again, it's kind of interesting because I've read some of this material before, but I'm just starting from the beginning because it's been so many years. Oh, wow, look at that. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think this is when it was kind of Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. Yep, there's Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. Kind of had a little bit of a rebrand. But this is toward the end of that main run of Ultimate Spider-Man before it eventually goes over to Miles Morales in the Ultimate Universe. So this is a really, like I said, pretty key time for a really long and heavily celebrated run. I am curious, like I said, to see some of the miniseries they tie into this era. I actually haven't even read all of the Fallout miniseries that I know was included in here. So there's quite a bit here. I am curious to see what I think. I've heard kind of mixed reviews. I know the main actual sequence of Ultimate Spider-Man issues or Ultimate Comics Spider-Man issues are quite good from memory. But yeah, so stay tuned. I will plan to review this once I complete it as well. But that is the Spider-Man Ultimate Death of Spider-Man. I'm not really even sure. I feel like I'm adding too many words, but that is that omnibus. They got a reprinting not too long ago. Let's see. Got a couple more comments. Have you read Dark Knight the Master Race? Would you suggest it? Yes, so Dark Knight the Master Race is the Dark Knight Returns 3 after the Dark Knight Returns and the Dark Knight Returns Strikes Back. I have not read it yet. I really want to. I've actually heard really good things. I've heard it's definitely better than Volume 2. My issue with the Dark Knight Returns, and this might be super controversial because it's one of the most celebrated runs of all time, I struggle with the artwork in Dark Knight Returns. So that's really keeps me from engaging too much in that universe. However, I do love the story of The Dark Knight Returns. So it is kind of a funny relationship I have with that title. I do like it. I have that and Strikes Again. And if I have an opportunity, I do want to pick up Master Race. I have friends that have recommended it, but as far as if I can personally recommend it, I have to go ahead and say, I'm not sure yet. I have to get to it myself. Let's see, now I am reading Secret Six, amazing book. Yes, I like that as well. I reviewed that on the channel not too long ago. What does this Ultimate Spider-Man Omni collect? Ooh, you know what? Let's go back and check that out for you. I'm happy to read the contents of that real quick. Okay, so this omnibus collects Ultimate Comics Spider-Man issue 15 and 150 through 160. That's when it goes back to the legacy numbers. Then it's Ultimate Comics Avengers versus New Ultimates, issues 1 through 6, and Ultimate Comics Fallout, issues 1 through 6. So again, my personal reading, I've done everything but those last two mini-series. So we'll see how it goes, how I feel about it, etc., etc., etc. But hopefully that helps. Let's see. Currently reading Captain America by Nick Spencer, Omnibus Volume 1. Yeah, I got that right there. Read that last year. Let's see. And Avengers by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus. You know, I'm actually still reading that as well. I love Jonathan Hickman, still making my way through Hickvengers. Yeah, so you're not the only one. I'm still kind of making my way through both of those runs. I did finish the Volume 1 of Nick Spencer's Captain America, though. Got into comics a year ago, and now I have a lot of stuff to read. Philip, isn't that a great story? Welcome to the world of comics. I know you're not super new anymore, it sounds like, but still, welcome, welcome. Such a fun hobby. Next up, I am going through Black Cat by Jed MacKay. I know Jed MacKay is really a celebrated writer right now. Between his Moon Knight run, I know a lot of people love this. This has been on my should I check out list for some time. Jess over at OmniDog's Vault, I think finally influenced me enough to give it a shot. And honestly, so far I'm really liking it. I did get a used copy from eBay that was unfortunately in worse condition than they said. I don't know if you could see it on the video, but totally torn here. And actually the hardcover itself has that same tear. It's starting to split. So I kind of just taped it up. Bit of a bummer, but I got a partial refund due to the quality that was misrepresented. So I got this thing for very, very cheap, which I was happy to get because this isn't like a favorite character, but as a fan of Spider-Man, all of these kind of side characters, I was very curious about this omnibus. And what I've read from Jed MacKay, I have enjoyed. So this is his run on Black Cat. I think this has pretty much everything he did except for, I think that he did a Black Cat, Mary Jane story around Dark Web era that is not in this book. But everything else is pretty much here. This is a fun, fun book. So you might think that it leans heavily as a Spider-Man offshoot book, but not at all. While he does appear a couple times in this book, this is Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat's, oops, starting to come off here. It's her book, you know, it really is. And she's the main character, and it really doesn't lean heavily on Spider-Man. There's a couple Spider-Man references, but nothing crazy. And this book is a heist narrative, I'm happy to say. So for me, in the superhero genre, which I do really love, I like when we also get into other subgenres. I like when we mix it up in our mainstream comics. And so giving me a heist genre mainstream book with a costumed character, it's just really fun and nuanced. We do have a couple different artists on this book, but so far I thought all the artists did a lovely job. Beautiful coloring as well. Fascinating supporting cast. You know, we have a lot of great people on her kind of heist team. Some people from her past. We do still have appearances by Spider-Man that are kind of great. Other characters from the Marvel Universe, which I won't spoil too much. Suffice it to say, some of her heist jobs are robbing some mainstream Marvel superhero characters, and those are some of my favorite issues so far. I may be halfway through this book right now, but I am thoroughly enjoying it. It's one of my main kind of for pleasure reads right now. I'm also trying to get through a few sponsored books that are still fun, but maybe less enjoyable just from a reading standpoint. But this is a really fun one that's hard to put down. I do plan to review this as well when I complete it. Let's see, any more comments? And like I said, I'm going to be here maybe another 10 minutes or so, so anyone still watching, feel free to drop those comments or questions, what have you. If you're enjoying this, please give me that thumbs up like. It helps the algorithm and helps me, and honestly, just boosts my morale, so thank you. Let's see, Divergent UG says, Marvel or DC Comics? I am a Marvel fanboy first and foremost. I do love DC though, as you can kind of see below here. But Marvel is definitely my main favorite publisher for comic books, but again, I got enough love for many others. Speaking of DC though, let's go ahead and shift gears. The only DC book I'm currently actively reading is here, Batman and Robin Eternal. This omnibus was donated from an amazing watcher, so many thanks. But here it is here on the spine, in the back. My question about this, because I have yet to read Batman Eternal, though hopefully someday I can get a copy of that. My question was, is this a sequel omnibus? Do I need to read part 1? And I had a lot of friends saying, no, not really. And now that I'm, you know, a good third of the way into this or so, I can definitely affirm, no, I don't feel like basically not reading Batman Eternal affected this at all. I feel like I was able to jump in no problem. However, what I think is more important for reading this actually is to have a good grasp of most of Scott Snyder's Batman run. I have the omnibuses down there. Because this takes place after the events of his storyline, Batman Endgame, by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. It's a very prolific Joker story from the New 52 that shifts the status quo within the Batman universe and the Bat family, and that has some intense ramifications for what happens here. The other book I think is really important to read before this, or at least have a functional knowledge of, is the Grayson Omnibus right here. From Tim Seeley, Tom King, and Mikkel Janin. That is an era where Dick Grayson, once Robin, Nightwing to many, is now a secret agent. Anyway, that's all going on around the time of Batman and Robin Eternal. Are those essential reads? Maybe not, but you'd probably want to fill in a few details before enjoying this. But if you have a kind of functional understanding of that, you can pretty much dive right into this. And this has been a blast. We got some beautiful end pages here. You know, I've heard real mixed reviews about this, but I was really eager to give this a shot. How it was pitched to me, too, was that it's essentially a Bat family comic book run. What do I mean by that for people newer to the Batman mythos? Essentially, you think this is going to be all about Batman, and while he does appear in it in varying ways and flashbacks and things, the primary narrative usually follows a lot of his proteges and supporting cast of vigilante hero characters, like all of his different Robins. You know, we have Spoiler, we have some other characters like that that kind of round out the cast of this book. This is also a really collaborative effort. We have a ton of different writers and artists attached to this book, and I think this was a weekly released title for 26 weeks or so, give or take. So it kind of has the same novelty of Batman Eternal, which was also a weekly release. Same with something like 52, another weekly release kind of event book. But yeah, this is Batman and Robin Eternal. Like I said, it follows primarily the Bat family, so we get a lot of like Red Hood and Tim Drake and Dick Grayson and some of those other characters. But I love it so far. Honestly, it has amazing artwork, and the storyline is really interesting. It has to do with kind of a conspiracy that began years and years in the past when Dick Grayson was just starting off as Robin, and him and Batman were fighting Scarecrow and gallivanting around the world. There's basically a secret that Bruce Wayne has that is just starting to come to light. Bruce Wayne in the present day, without going into spoilers, is sort of indisposed. He can't really be leaned on in a way that makes him an asset. So it's up to the Bat family to figure out this weird conspiracy. Even as modern day, we have some kind of crazy bad guy, terrorist-like attacks. You can see here a lot of awesome fighting. And I think we have the New 52's reintroduction of Cassandra Cain, which is really cool. Is it Cassandra Cain? Is that her name? I mix her up with Batwoman sometimes. Anyway, but yeah, really cool stuff here. I don't want to spoil too much, but this has been another pleasure, kind of active read I've been doing. It's really fun to go back into the world of Batman with a run I have never read. And as a fan of the Bat family, this is a really, really fun read. I think if you're looking for just kind of a Batman-centric book, maybe this isn't the first pick I would do. But if you like the Batman universe and you have yet to check it out, I really like this so far. Like I said, I'm about between a third and a halfway through this already. So we'll see if it sticks the landing. But so far, I am totally engrossed. Really enjoy it. Art looks sick. Yeah, the last couple collections, great art. Big fan. Philip says, I just read this. I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of Cassandra Cain and Red Hood, and I enjoy seeing them together. Yeah, you know, I really like those characters too. I know Red Hood is like so popular, and I do like that character, but I'm always looking to read more stuff with that character, and so far, I really dig it. What is the difference between Detective Comics Batman and Earth 1 Batman? If I understand if I understand the question correctly, Earth 1 is a sub-universe or a parallel universe in the DC multiverse that had 3 standalone graphic novels that were released by Jeff Johns and I want to say Gary Frank on art. That's just a different Batman, a younger Batman, kind of a different mythos. He's outside of the main continuity versus Detective Comics is your mainstream Batman title. That and Batman proper are both describing the same Batman. It's just 2 different releases in the same universe. I hope that answers the question. Who is the Robin in this run? Okay, Philip, if you're talking about Batman and Robin Eternal, I want to say the proper Robin is probably going to be Damian Wayne. However, Tim Drake is Red Robin. You have Dick Grayson as an agent. You know, you have Red Hood showing up. So, like, all the Robins are here. It's just a matter of who's functioning as Robin. It's probably Damian Wayne around this era, but it's almost irrelevant. They're all there, and they're all functioning to varying degrees in that story arc. Okay. Great, guys. Well, a couple more minutes here. I'm going to round out this video by going through my last current read in this little live stream here. But it's meant the world to me that you guys are watching along and commenting and honestly encouraging me. It's a huge boost today, so thank you. This has been so fun. Trying to do more live streams, trying to get a proper setup figured out. I know this is not the most high definition stream in the world, but giving it a shot. Oh, hello, Eric. Thanks for commenting and jumping on. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Let me know if you'd like to see more live content on the channel. If you're watching this on replay, let me know how that experience goes. But let's go ahead and go into the last book I am currently reading, and that is Micronauts, the original Marvel Years Omnibus, Volume 1. Love that spine. We got Acro Year down here, one of the characters in the book. I just think that looks really slick for a spine. In the back, we got thumbnails of all the issues, some of the character models there, some information here. This is a really fun book so far. I think this is one of a total of 3 they're planning to release for this. I know they got the license back to reprint these. This came out, I think, late 70s, if I'm not mistaken, written by Bill Mantlo. Michael Golden provides a lot of the artwork in this collection. Bill Mantlo is a name I know I've read some from in the past. Michael Golden, though, as an artist, I'm not sure I've ever seen before, but love the stuff here. So anecdotally, what this series is about is there was a toy developer that had these toys, the Micronauts. And I think it was Bill Mantlo's son who got them for Christmas or something. And he's looking at all these toys and thinking that there's a story here. And so he goes to the Marvel editor kind of saying, hey, can we license the rights for these toys to make a story? Because I think I can make a backstory for this universe, for these toys. And that's really what the Micronauts series is. So for a long time, I don't think Marvel had the rights to reprint or distribute these, but they reacquired them for this and ROM, the Space Knights, so that's why we're seeing these omnibuses coming out. But this is a really fascinating book, and what might be surprising to some, yes, it's a Marvel title license, but honestly, this is set in the Marvel 616 universe, believe it or not. And we see that play out even in this first collection as they cross over with characters from the Marvel Universe, like Nick Fury and Fantastic Four and a couple more. We got a great introduction here. And then we have a map of Homeworld and kind of the rest of the microverse here. Boo, boo, boo. So the Micronauts are basically super small, kind of interstellar travelers almost. They're in a universe that is kind of microscopically in our own super tiny universe. And anyway, it's kind of their exploits. It's a total sci-fi space fantasy. Think the same genre of Star Wars and you won't be far off. Funny enough, this is coming around right at the same time, give or take. So it's definitely something in the air, in the water at that time, I suppose. But this is, yeah, another high-flying space sci-fi adventure, or inner space, they say, because it's kind of microscopic size, but it feels like a space narrative. But yeah, really, really fascinating stuff. It sounds a bit cheesy, but honestly, this is a really gripping read. I've had fun with it. Being a late 70s and kind of early 80s title, it is a little dated by today's standards, but this artwork is hard to beat by Michael Golden. Absolutely stunning. And it took me a while to get into this universe, I'd say 2 or 3 issues, but once I kind of got a grip on the characters and what was happening with the world building, I got pretty locked in, and the storyline's really fun. We have kind of a evil space dictator, Baron Karza here, and his sort of lieutenant, and they basically are taking over the homeworld. And we have a Voyager, a Micronaut, who's been in space for like a millennia in kind of a suspended animation, who's come back to his homeworld to see it completely overrun by this dictator. The dictator uses something called the body banks to help promote eternal life, but only for the elite and himself. Really horrific practice. And basically, the storyline at the beginning is trying to get these band of people, known as the Micronauts, this is kind of their ragtag team, going through inner space, of course, but really trying to stop Baron Karza on Homeworld. At one point, they have to flee, and they break through a sort of wall in their universe and end up in the Marvel 616 universe, where they are tiny. You can see them next to a lawnmower. But anyway, that's kind of the setup for this book. There's definitely more adventures than just that. But these characters are really fun. And honestly, the Micronauts I first read about in the pages of Genis Vell, that Captain Marvel run by Peter David. There's some cool cameo appearances by some of these characters. And so I'm reading that as well. And then I jump over here, and I recognize the characters. I'm like, oh, wow, this is really cool. But yeah, love the artwork here from Michael Golden. Bill Mantlo has some really great writing. The characters are very fun. Yeah, there's Baron Karza. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, yeah, so this has been my active read. This one was sponsored by Organic Price Books, so I plan to do a review for it in the future. I don't know if I would have gravitated as much toward this, but to get a review copy, I'm finding myself really, really liking it. So I'm curious if there's any Micronauts fans out there, but this is my other active read. Let's get these lined up a little bit. Now that I've gone through the video. Whew. Yeah, so anyway, last minute questions, guys. I'll probably be on for another couple minutes, and then we'll call it. Sorry about the order here. I know it's probably upsetting to some. Okay, let's see. Sweet. Finally able to catch one of your live streams. Thanks, Dom. Great name. Okay, let's see. Yo, hope everyone is doing well. Sorry I missed most of the live. I'm currently on shift. Totally understand. Oop. Totally understand. Boom. Yeah, I'm just taking a quick break as well in my day before head back to work myself, but just trying to get a live stream when I could. Kids are dropped off for childcare, so I had a minute. Let's see, what are you planning to read next? Are you going to pick up the Daredevil by Zdarsky Omnibus? Yes, I did order that, so that should come in soon. I have read the entirety of that book in the the oversized hardcovers they had released, which I have now sold because they're releasing these omnibus editions instead. But I have reviewed those on the channel before. I will likely review the omnibus when I get it in, but I'm very excited to jump in. Daredevil is my favorite character. Omni Nation Comics, hey Dom, hey Day Day, good to see you, man. Glad you could stop by real quick. Okay, guys, I've been going for almost a half an hour here, so I'll let it go for maybe another minute. So any last minute questions, comments, anything for me, I'm happy to answer, and then I'll probably sign off here. But thanks everyone for making it out to the live. Like I said, this is really fun. If you enjoy this kind of format, I am hoping to do a bit more live content moving forward. Maybe even get better scheduling for that. We'll see. Like I said, with full-time job and some young kids at home and everything else, it can be a little bit dicey, but doing what I can. Okay, Eric says, any Superman or New Gods omnibus you have? You know, I don't have the New God stuff. I don't have any of the Fourth World stuff from Jack Kirby yet, though I hope one day to get that book, especially. Superman omnibuses, you can probably see. Let me see if I can move this around. These are my Superman omnibuses, if you can see them. I have the Superman, The Exile, and Other Stories. I have yet to read this. I'm still finishing out the last volume of the John Byrne run. This takes place sometime after, so I'm hoping to get to that next. Death and Return of Superman, I have reviewed that on the channel. That's amazing, amazing stuff. I love that era of Superman. And then I have this by the Superman run from Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason omnibus. This I'm still making my way through, but this has been amazing. One of my favorite modern runs on Superman so far. Great father-son stuff, beautiful artwork from the incredible Patrick Gleason. Also really enjoyed their Batman and Robin run, which I also have an omnibus and have read. But yeah, this is probably the one I'm actively reading, and it's been a while since I've read an issue, so maybe I shouldn't say active, but still going through it. Really dig it so far. Definitely recommend it from what I've read so far. Let's see. I'm excited to pick up DD by Zdarsky and Uncanny X-Force by Remender. Yes, Dom, the Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender is my #1 most anticipated omnibus of this year. Pre-ordered that a while ago. Cannot wait for that to finally come in a few weeks, hopefully. If you've read that run, let me know in the comments, because I've heard really good things. Let's see. Do more DC reviews. You know, I'm trying to make my way through. It's funny, I feel like with DC, I do more smaller, like paperbacks or hardcover reviews, and I find myself doing more omnibus reviews from Marvel. But hopefully we'll get some more DC omnibus reviews coming up. Like I said, I'm reading Batman, Robin Eternal. I'm reading Starman, which is a compendium, but hopefully we'll get those going soon too. You know, I did drop a Gotham by Gaslight Batman review today, if you like DC Comics. Do you have any Absolute editions? No. Absolute editions, if you're unaware, are a oversized with a slipcase format that DC Comics releases. They look beautiful. Would love to get some of those someday. Don't have any yet. Although, if you want content that showcases Absolute editions, I recommend friend of the channels, The Brave and the Boys, with Jake and Jordan over there. They have a lot of Absolutes, do some great content. Let's see. Nice. Is that the newest Death of Superman Omni? Yes, it's the newest edition that came out, I don't know, a year or two ago. It has the fold-out Death of page, too. That really, really cool stuff. Have you read Flash by Joshua Williamson? Looks interesting. The artwork's really great. I'm wondering if it's worth picking up. Here's my thing with that. I have not finished all of Williamson's run on Flash. However, I have read the first 2 oversized deluxe edition hardcovers they released some time ago. So maybe the first 20 issues or so of that run. So I have not read all of it. I am a fan of Joshua Williamson. I had a hard time getting into his Flash run completely though. I enjoyed a good deal of what I read. I just didn't love it. But I am always interested in reevaluating, rereading, and hopefully reading more of that run. I would love to finish it out someday. Because I did at least enjoy what I read, and I think the artwork is honestly some of my favorite Flash artwork I've ever read. Absolutely beautiful. So let me know. Let me know if the rest of Williamson's run is really good. I think for me, if you're asking my personal opinion, what I've read so far, it was good. I think it's worth finishing if I have the opportunity to, but maybe not my favorite Flash run thus far. Let's see, yes, Superman Rebirth is amazing. One of my favorite runs too. Awesome, glad to see that. I have not. It will be my first time reading it. Very cool. Do you still pick up single issues? I will say, single issues, I actually never really collected. I've always been a collected edition guy. I know I did a video about my secret origin of how I got into comics. But essentially, I read a lot of modern comics. I read a little bit of everything, but with modern comics in particular, you can't read an issue and get a full story for the most part. So in my mind, I'm buying it for the story, not a part of the story. So collected editions made sense to me, as well as I'm not really buying to invest in like a valuable piece of comic history, like with a lot of the single issues. Not that these don't have value. But for me, I'm all about story first. And with a lot of these collected editions, I feel like I get more bang for my buck. So I've always really been a collected edition guy. That being said, I have acquired comic book single issues over the years. I bought a few. I've actually won a handful in giveaways, and then with free comic book days and events like that, or I've had friends that have given me for gifts. Really grateful for that. So I have a little collection of single issues, but nothing too crazy. By the way, for a fast read, I suggest The Last Ronin. It's 100% enjoyable. Yes, I believe that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles graphic novel. I have read it. Very, very good. Definitely recommend it. I haven't read a ton of the Turtles in comic book format. That's actually, I think, the only comic I've read. But even from pop culture, I knew enough about the Turtles that was a fantastic book. I heard a lot of people say it's the Dark Knight Returns treatment for the Turtles. And honestly, I think that probably is worth that sentiment. It's really good. Definitely recommend it as well. Thank you, Philip. Okay, guys, I think that is about going to wrap us up. Any last minute questions? 3, 2, 1. Okay, guys, thanks so much for stopping by. If you made it on the live stream, I appreciate it. And if not, you're catching on replay, thank you for watching as well. Catch you guys later. Bye.